just finishing out a dial. So after it's comes off of the engraving, I just have to go around and finish all of the edges of it. It's some tedious work, not a lot of pressure to push down on each part, and you have to be really delicate. If you slip when you're doing this part, it will absolutely ruin the dial. And so I'm not able to watch the video while I'm doing this, so I apologize if I get in the way of any of it. I'm doing all this through a magnification so I can see the work as I'm doing it. But it's just light strokes with a really fine ruby stone that I'm using to just polish this edge to make the watch dial as perfect as I can. If you want to just kind of see some of the work I've already done the Barger logo here, and then these indices here from the 12 o'clock to the 3 o'clock have been completed. And you can see the difference there between that and, for instance, the 6. And so I'll go ahead and complete the 4 o'clock now, and it's not as quite as exciting as watching one of the numbers get done, but I'll try to make sure I don't obscure the actual indice I'm working on this watch dial. This watch dial is going to be for a 2824 with the date deleted. And so as you can see, there's no date window on this watch. And so what I do is I just take the 2824 and I remove the date components off of it. Now the 2824 does have a selector for the keyless works to let you remove the second position for the date, or the first position for the date. And so you can actually do that. I haven't done that in the past, but it's a fairly easy switch out on the keyless works, and maybe I'll make a thing for that later. Sorry about getting my fingers in the way there and blocking the camera. I should probably do this from a different angle, but see if I can do this one a little bit differently here from a different. I don't know if you can see that work or not from that angle. I'm trying to just go in this little edge right here and polish it without touching the back of that brass, leaving a mark from my tool. And you're just putting really little pressure, basically just trying to burnish it. Now, I'm using a ruby stone. You can also use a pegwood for this, and the pegwood, you can be a little bit less careful, just because if it slips, it's probably not going to destroy your dial. And it does a pretty good job of polishing it as well. Just found that the ruby stone does a better job at the end of the day. But this does a good job too. Now my pattern goes across like this, and so when I'm cleaning the top of this, polishing it, I'm going to polish it with the satin finish to make sure I don't put a different pattern in here that would be difficult to get out later. And then I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to grab these edges and make sure that they're nice and polished. I'm not going for mirror smooth, but I'm not against mirror smooth either. When you laser engrave a dial, you leave behind quite a bit of charred surface or burned area, and it's important to get all that off for the best looking product at the end. And that's really partly what this is for, but also just with any process, including using a CNC, the milling leaves tool marks just like the laser leaves its tool marks on here. And so what we're doing is we're coming back and deleting those tool marks and giving this dial a lot of hand finishing at the end of it. This process takes every bit as long as engraving the dial, if not longer, and definitely is a lot more intensive as far as the labor goes. And so that's pretty good cleanup on that. And I would wish I could zoom in a little bit better. I don't know if the camera here will let me do that or not. Yeah, it does. And so you can see here that the zoom on this is a lot better off as far as the detail goes. And this is all brass. And again, it's been laser engraved, and then I'm coming back and cleaning it up. A dial that hasn't been cleaned, just for reference. Got one right here. It's going to look a lot less refined and good. You can see the difference there. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the comments. I appreciate you watching, and if you have any suggestions too, I'm definitely a hobbyist when it comes to this stuff, and definitely I'm starting up on YouTube, as far as this is my first live stream. So if you have any suggestions here of what I need to do differently, I do have some additional cameras that I want to get going at some point. I just don't have them yet. Now you can see a little bit, I don't know if you can see this around the fore. You can see that wood that's come off there, and it's leaving a little bit of that behind. And so to get rid of that, I can just use a little bit of watchmaker's Rotico, and I just happen to have some right over here waiting for me to use it. And you just roll that over like that, and that cleans up that. That's one way to do it with the Rotico. And the other way you can do it is just take a air blower. You can blow it off. Both of those work pretty well. I prefer the Rotico. That way, if there's any other pieces of metal or anything like that that might scratch my dial, I pick up all of that. I'm just going to give all of this a nice roll over real quick to make sure everything's off of it. And you see it's a really nice finish that's occurring there. And anyway, I appreciate everybody saying hi, and definitely welcome to my live stream. And just for the people who are just tuning in, all I'm doing is going around and I'm cleaning up the dial after it's come off my fiber laser. There's quite a bit of work that has to be done after post-process. To give you an example of one that is completely finished, here's a second dial that I've put together for a watch that I finished previously. And so ultimately I will finish it up, and hopefully it'll look just as good, if not better, than something like that when we're all said and done. This is just brass. It hasn't had any color treatment put on it. And I haven't completely decided what the final treatment's going to be, but I'm thinking that it's going to be black behind the pattern here. So this area with the circles will be black, and then this will be just brass and shinier because of that. And then out here will be black as well. Maybe like an antiqued brass with a little bit of distress in it. Again, I'll play around with it, and the nice thing about it is, because I'm building this completely from scratch, if I don't like what it looks like, I can come back and I can change it around a little bit, and that's okay, because that's one of the nice things about making your own watch dial, is you can do it yourself. Now obviously these watch dials are very delicate, and you want to be really careful while you're doing the finish on them, because you can spoil your dial. And I've done that. I've had 2-3 days into a dial before and ruined it, and that means it goes in the bin, and it is gone at that point. So so just some other things there. And you can see here the 6 is looking pretty rough, and we'll get that cleaned up here in just a second. And that I will use the ruby stone for again instead of the wood peg, but instead of the peg wood. One of the things that I get a lot of questions about is about dial feet. And so dial feet go on the back of the dial. And so the dial feet are really important as far as the location go. If they don't line up, your 12 o'clock, your 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all the times on the dial won't match up either. And so it's really important that your dial feet go in the correct position. And so one thing I always recommend is that you make a template for that. And if you don't have a template, use an actual dial. So I have a Chinese movement that I use for fitting because it's inexpensive and I don't mind ruining it. And then I use, and it matches the Swiss movements that I use. So I use that for fitting my feet on to make sure that they're perfect. And then I use the Swiss movement for the final fitting. And that makes sure that everything is exactly where it needs to be. So these are satin finished at the end here, and so for that, I just have some rough, flexible paper that is cloth. It's like a cloth thing, and it's literally just going straight across the dial like this. Oops, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, I can. I can hold it. It's going across the dial like this, and I'm just making short strokes on that indice to put that sand or that pattern in there. And you can see now that that's done. And I've got a nice satin finish on that indice there. And come back and get the any dust or metal that's in there off, or dirt. And then it's time to move to the 6. And the 6 is going to need a little bit more work. I'm going to go ahead and do it upside down so you guys can see it while I'm working on it. I'm going to be using the ruby stone, or the ruby, for that. And so I have that sharpened to a point, and I'm going to go ahead and dress that up a little bit. I just have a sharpening stone over here that I'm using, and I'm going to sharpen that up and make a fine point on that, clean off the point. And literally I'm going to go around this 6 and get all of the edges off. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a slight piece of metal up right there. And so that would not be ideal to have on the finished dial. Microscopically, when you're looking at a dial, you want it to be as smooth and as perfect as you can. That's one of the unique things about watchmaking that makes a watch a little bit nicer. It's just the finish on it. And so I want my watches that I make to be as finished as they can possibly be. Now, this doesn't take a lot of pressure. I'm literally just barely pushing on this, and it's just enough to polish the area and deburr that extra piece of metal that was on there and take it off. And that metal's already gone. And again, I don't know if you can tell the difference or not, but I can see that it's already gone. And there's no reason to stay or dwell on an area once it's finished. It's time to move on. And so for that, I turn the dial always so I'm at the same angle working. And I do that because that is the easiest way to control the pinpoint on this, to make sure you do not touch it against anything that you don't want to touch. If I was to touch the metal below, which is only 0.01 millimeters below where I'm actually rubbing this, it will leave a brighter mark, and that'll be something I have to fix or live with on the dial. And so you just have to be really careful while you're doing this. And all I'm doing is just getting that polish in there and making sure that edge is smooth. And I'll be going back in and getting a deeper in there at a different angle. But right now I'm doing the outer edge, which I want a slight chamfer, which is what I'm putting in by hand right now. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? I don't know if anybody can hear me or not, but if you can, welcome to the broadcast here. I'm just working on a watch dial for an automatic watch. So I have made watch dials in the past, and when I first started a few years ago, this is the step that I would skip, not realizing how important it was, but it actually makes all the difference in the world for the quality of the watch dial. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see me work on the 6 here because of the angle I need to be at to work on it, but I'll see if I can do it with maybe holding it up. Oh, that's not going to work. See if I can get it at a different angle here for you. maybe I can hold it over there instead. Yeah, I can do that. And so I just need to work on that little bitty part right there. And so again, it's just a little bit of pressure, not a lot, just enough to polish it. And the angle I need to be at, my finger is going to possibly get in my way, so I can actually use a piece of pegwood to hold this down instead. And then that'll let me get that angle I need. So anybody who works on watch stuff, the pegwood is one of your best friends as far as extra set of hands or being able to polish stuff. In fact, I'm going to be going back around here with the pegwood and polishing this up. Get rid of some of that debris that's fallen off so I can see where it needs to be polished some more. And again, I'm looking at this under magnification. You're seeing it about the same size I'm seeing it. This is a tiny dial though, and I'll try to give you an idea of how big it is here in a second. It's 33 millimeters total, so it's only 3.3 centimeters in size, and so it gives you an idea that's pretty small. And normally I wouldn't use the pegwood to hold it, I'd use my fingers, but because I'm trying to let you guys see the work I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and use the pegwood, and hopefully I don't end up spoiling the dial by doing that. So I just slipped and I just put a mark across that 6. Fortunately it's not deep because I wasn't putting a lot of pressure on it, but had it been a deep mark, I probably would not have been able to get rid of it with just a light sanding, and that would have spoiled my dial. So again, it's really important to make sure you don't put too much pressure while you're doing this, just enough to get the job done. And just like anything else in the world, there's people who've been doing this for their whole lives. They have a lot better ideas and things that they have learned to do. And again, I'm pretty new at this. I'm just learning. And if you have a lifetime of experience doing this and you want to provide me a comment or two, or send me a DM or anything like that with some better methods to do this, I would be happy to listen. I am all about learning, and I really enjoy doing this type of work, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do it. So I'll actually be coming out with a video on the laser engraving process for this specific dial later, and I don't know when I'll finish the editing for it. Some of it will include part of the finishing here, but most of it will focus on the actual laser and then the finishing of the paint. This live stream obviously is just going to be this part of the dial that we're doing. And again, I apologize for the camera and the angles. It's my first live stream, and I just decided to use my phone. I do have some additional cameras coming for doing this in the future, so I can provide different angles and zoom outs and zoom ins and things like that, but that's not here yet. And I just kind of wanted to see how the live streaming worked and see if everybody liked it and whether or not people would tune in and watch this type of work. I don't know if it's that exciting or not, but I really do enjoy doing it. You know, one thing about working on watch stuff in general is it's so intricate and you have to be incredibly patient. If you try to speed up what you're doing, you're absolutely guaranteed to ruin the work that you're doing. And so you just have to be patient and take your time. And if you don't enjoy doing it, obviously it's not something that you're probably not gonna want to do. I've really enjoy watching people who are really good at this. I'm still, again, learning, but I really enjoy watching people who are just mastered being able to come in and do amazing jewelry work. Probably one of my favorite people to watch is MDC Jewelry out of New York. There's a artist, her name is Emily, she's a jewelry maker, and she does amazing work. Very inspirational. And then for watch dials, probably one of my favorite watch dial makers is Red 5 Watchworks, and again, just an inspiration as far as watching the amount of improvement he's had over the years. He has a lot more experience and everything, but very inspirational, and I really have enjoyed watching his work as well. It's funny as you'll go back and you'll look at some of your dials that you've made, and you'll be like, wow, I forgot about that one, and I need to make that into a watch. But it's pretty amazing how easy it is to forget about some of the stuff you've done. I'm just going to turn this around so I can get to the other side of this here. I want to get to the top of the 6. Can you all still see? Let me move it back here. I'm just trying to get the top part of that 6 nice and smooth. And unfortunately, I don't have a before and after camera, so I would love to show you that. I'm just going to turn this around to the 6 and get the other side right here. I'm going to come at an angle here so I can get it using the same stroke. And I want to get this corner right here, so I'm just going to turn it while I'm doing it. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but it's something I saw people doing who were working on hand engraving, and it seems to work really well for them, and it's worked really well for me as well. We get the inside of the 6 here a little bit on the, you see some of that debris falling out, and that's just a good example of having burrs and stuff in the metal that need to be removed still. And here's the thing, this isn't a I've got to get it now or it's forever gone. After I do the finish on the dial and do the color treatment on it, yeah, it makes it a lot harder to come back and do a modification. It might mean that I have to redo the finish completely. And that could impact the quality of the dial at the end of the day, and I don't want to do that. So I do want to get it as perfect as I can now. And so when I think I'm done, one of the things I like to do is put it aside and go do something else. And then when I come back, take a look at this with a microscope and literally decide after that that I've got everything I need to get. I'm just using this wood to get in here. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with the wood and not have to worry about damaging the rest of the dial. You can damage the rest of the dial or burnish it definitely with the wood, so you want to be careful with it. I'm just going to see if I can get out some of that scratch before I hit this with the satin finish. And yeah, it came out pretty well actually. And then let's get rid of the dust and debris on there. I'm just again using Rotico for that. Yeah, that's coming out pretty nice. What do you guys think? Think that's enough for now, or do you think I should keep working on that 6 for a little bit? I think it looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more right here on the edge. A little bit more polish right there. That's where that burr was when we first started. I think I can use just a little bit more polishing there. Make sure you guys can still see. You can with my finger there. Yes. It looks like I could use a little bit more there as well. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And again, when you're working on something so small, I know that the tininess of the differences, it's like what makes the difference with it. But that's absolutely the thing that people who love watches like about them, is the precision of them. And it's one of the things I love about them too. So it's got this rough textured paper. I think it's made by 3M. And I'm going to use some of that to run over the 6 and make sure that it has the correct satin finish on it. And I'm going to give another satin finish overall on this later. But this lets me see if there's anything that I need to address that's big right now. Because it lets me see if there's anything I might have missed short term. I don't think there is. I think it's good. There might be a little bit of debris right there. See if I can get to it with this. I'm going to have to sharpen up my stick a little bit. Let me try that. Get a little bit sharper to get in that crevice. Yeah, there's definitely some coloration in there I don't necessarily want. I do think it'll probably blend okay at the end of the day with my final color that I'm going to use. But I would prefer to have it gone. And I did get some of it out. Definitely reaching to it. I'm sorry if I'm blocking here. I need to make sure I don't jack this up when I'm doing it. What I'm trying to get is this just little bitty dark area right there. Let's see if I can get this a little bit thinner. You know, these tools I'm working with are super tiny. And it's crazy they won't fit in that crevice, but it's because that crevice is so tiny. So I made this more of a wedge. Let's see if I can fit it in there. Yeah, so I think it's going in there now. We'll try to remove that with some chemical later, because I can't get it completely out, but I got it out a little bit better. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. It looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, and probably aren't going to finish up everything today in one sitting, just because, like I said, when you're not patient with this, it's not a good outcome. And we'll probably run for another, I don't know how long we've been running even, but I'll probably run it for another 30 minutes or so and finish up everything that I can in that period of time. So one thing about this, you can see that here for the hole for the watches. I don't know if I have a movement sitting here or not. I can show y'all real quick with this one. No, I don't have a movement sitting here at the desk already on the workbench. But the hole here is 2.2 millimeters, and so even though I do make that hole with my laser engraver, I do come back and I let me go and zoom out a little bit. I do come back and use a CNC mill to actually make that perfect, the size I need it. So I'm always coming back with a CNC mill to do some of the finish on some of this, or a lathe, or other tools that I have in my metal shop. But I do try to do quite a bit of it just with the fiber laser and hand tools, just to preserve the craftsmanship of what I'm doing. Just going to give this a little bit more polish around the edges, and then we'll move on to the next indice. I think that turned out really nice though. The edges look good. They're all nice and shiny. Yeah, that's pretty good. We're going to start off with this, get rid of any of the easy to remove stuff. I'll make it easier for the ruby stone to see everything it needs to see. And again, I'm just turning it to work on the, I'm trying to stay my fingers out of the way. Just doing it so I can work on it at the angles where my hand's coming in. The same side as the angle I'm working on. See if I can get this to not have my hand in the way though. There we go. All right, so let's get rid of that wood that's on there now that's been deposited. And then let's go around and be really careful. And I'm just going to be tilting up the dial just a little bit at an angle, and also bringing this at an angle and just giving a slight chamfer polish to the edge. This is super light pressure, like barely even touching. And just that little bit of pressure is enough to take away any deburring that's necessary, and remove any of the laser char that's still left, and tool marks. And so that's what I'm doing here, is just trying to get rid of these tool marks left over. And every tool has a tool mark it leaves. Even this polisher leaves its mark behind. And so just have to remember what you're using and what it's going to leave behind. Now this one leaves a pretty nice smooth finish at the end of the day. And I just need to be at the angle that I'm delivering the chamfer on, which is right here. I don't know really if it's not really chamfering. I'm just giving it a polish on the edge. These have a tendency to sometimes not leave a clean edge off of the laser, and this allows you to go back and make sure that edge is clean. One thing that's really important here is not to touch the dial below what you're working on, because it is very easy to scratch brass. Brass is a soft metal. It's one of the things that makes it nice to be able to work on, but also one of the things that makes it sometimes frustrating to work on, because you'll accidentally scratch it and ruin your work. So this watch will get completed probably sometime next week, maybe the week after. I did have a person reach out to me, and they want to do a commissioned watch design. So that one might end up taking this one off of my workbench for a little bit, just while I finish their work. Just have to see what their timeline is for wanting that. And if it's not an urgent job, then this watch will get completed, and then I'll do that one. This watch will end up on my website at bargerwatch.com for sale, as it does not have a home. It was just a concept design of a watch that I wanted to make. Originally, I was going to put in some luminous markers for this, and I have those, but I went ahead and built with the brass markers on the dial. I really like the way they look, so that's what I'm going to keep. So there won't be any luminous markers, just luminous hands on the watch. So I might put a chapter ring or something in there that's luminous, but I haven't decided that yet. But that's the nice thing, again, about making your own stuff, is you don't really have to decide till you actually build it. So again, just very carefully going on that edge and turning it so that you're always coming at it from the same angle, and that way you're not trying to match something from a different side, and gives you a uniform finish on all the edges that you're touching, at least as uniform as your ability to, or my ability in this case, to match what I'm doing. So now I'm going to do the last side of this, and then I'm probably going to switch over. Well, actually, I'll see if I can see the edges. The first time I was reading about luxury watch brands, they have an employee work on a set of watch hands for over a week, just literally going over the metal, polishing them like this. It's really easy to see why those watches are so expensive when they spend so much time on the finish for them. When you look at those hands under a microscope too, they're near perfect, which is pretty amazing. No burring, all nice and polished. Really easy to mess up though. All right, I'm going to turn this up like this, and I'm literally going to come in from a bit of an angle here just to get this edge. I'm sorry if you can't see that very well. It's hard for me to make sure I don't get too much of the other surface when I'm doing this. I need to be careful just to be on the very edge of that indice and not on the bottom part of the dial. And all I'm removing there is some tool marks that are on here. Turn that a little bit more. My hands are going to get in the way on this one. Yeah, I think they are. Can't really do that side. So rather than try to do this one at a angle where y'all aren't going to be able to see, I'll just wait to do that later. But there's some tool marks right here that in order for me to get off, I'm going to have to hold the, well, actually I can probably do it this way. Just come in from this angle instead. Yeah, that works. I wish I could show those to you though. I don't know if there's a way to see them. Basically, it's just those ridges that are right next to it. They're coming up into that edge, and I'm just going in and polishing them away. They're real light. Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to do that from that angle, so I'm end up slipping, which I've done, and I can take that off, but it's going to definitely be something that is difficult for me to do there on that side, so I will have to do that later when I'm not doing the live stream. So make sure you guys can watch it. And then let me just go ahead and polish this. Use a piece of pegwood to hold this so y'all can keep watching my work. Just grab that pegwood. And this is just putting that satin finish back on. And getting rid of any of my tool marks I left on it. And I'm doing it specifically just that one spot because I don't want to hit any of the other features. I will later come back and give everything a uniform satin pull across the cloth later, and that will fix that. And I think we're going to call it even. That's 45 minutes of live streaming for this, and you can see here, just to kind of go over, I've done everything from the 12 o'clock indice to the 7 o'clock indice, and you can see that's been done now, and they have a very nice finish to them, and I think that's going to be a really nice style when it's all said and done. Again, it's going to depend on how I finish the rest of it, but again, the plan is to keep the brass a native color, use some black background on it, and make the outer edge black as well. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and come back and join me again the next time I do one. I really appreciate it. I don't know when I'll probably do one again, maybe in a few days, or maybe I'll pick this up again later and we'll do a second one, or do another part of it, maybe doing dial feet or something like that. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great weekend, and everybody is staying warm, and if you're in one of the colder areas, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.